a studio that's in a basement comes the epic story of how two friends changed the future of the movie podcast game forever. The reviews are in. Boys Life magazine gives the High Sci podcast 4.5 acorns. The Daily Bugle says, these guys are super legit. And Pope Francis declares the podcast as life-affirming. From the kid who tried to get smart with David Spade and got fucking old.
You're still out! You're still back!
And the guy who can name all four Baldwin brothers.
Alec, William, Daniel, and the baby boy, Stephen.
Live from the studio of his parents' basement, the Have You Seen It podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Have You Seen It podcast. My name is Mason Knight and sitting across from me is the one and only Cash Kraus. But before we begin, if you guys can please be sure to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as we drop videos here every single day. It really does help grow the channel, guys, and you guys contribute to our success. So we thank you guys.
We can't do it without you.
We can't. We cannot.
We'd just be two guys shouting in an empty room.
Which,
we'd be locked away.
Is kind of what we're doing a little bit.
But no, we have an audience we're talking to.
We do.
These great folks. You right there. I'm
right
talking
there.
to you,
Yes.
Jonathan.
I'm going with John. That's real safe. That's real safe. I guarantee we have one John.
That's a
listed.
mystic kind of thing. I just went
is.
for the most basic name.
Does blue come to mind?
No, not blue. No, not blue. I hate blue.
Really? Well, that's what I'm feeling. Hate. Yeah, out of that.
Okay, you're
good
right on
psychic.
it. You're right on it. No, we are doing. It's a good day for throwback theater.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
It has.
I mean, since we've done a true throwback theater.
I was gonna say
Because our throwback theaters have been like maybe 10 years.
Yeah,
this one's a true throwback.
It would be nice if they were had to have been older than 10 years.
Right, of course.
I feel like we're really scurrying what the definition of throwback is.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a true throwback theater.
Absolutely.
And this is the kind of film that I love doing for a throwback theater because it didn't really get enough tension when it came out. It was pretty much universally panned, but it became a cult classic. So these type of films deserve a second chance.
And some of the folklore of this is partially why this was pulled from theaters.
Well,
is
I don't know if it's
gangs
folklore
were
or not.
fighting.
I don't know. Well, yeah, it's a movie about gangs.
It is. So gangs were showing up to the movie theater to watch the film, saw other people wearing other colors, and started wars.
Let's talk about the title first. We were talking about, of course, 1979, The Warriors.
Warriors.
One of my favorite films. I saw this film when I was pretty young. One of my favorite films, though. I love The Warriors, directed by Walter Hill, who's known for directing a ton of Westerns. And this film definitely has a Western feel to me, even with the dialogue and everything. But, based on a 1965 novel of the same name, directed by Sol Urich. And the novel, I've read a little bit of it. It's way different than the movie. Yeah. It's much more violent. The guy who wrote the novel, funny enough, wrote the novel just because he wanted to make a realistic gang story after seeing West Side Story.
Oh, okay.
Do you know West Side Story? It's about gangs that sing. A lot of musicals.
Fun,
They get a dance. They snap their fingers whenever they're about to fight.
Right.
But that's funny because then they turned the movie into a not so realistic view of gangs and whatnot. Yeah. So they kind of flipped his story 180. But I love this film. Like I said, was universally panned by critics when it came out.
Yep.
They said this film was. They said it was unrealistic, but it was also too violent. So,
which is crazy that it's too violent. But I mean, this is 1979 when you had PG and rated R.
Yeah, you didn't really have anything
have
in between.
PG-13.
But yeah, like you said, this film has an odd story behind it. It came out to the theaters and did really good. Made $3 million, which back then $3 million your first weekend was awesome. Came out really, really strong. Although every critic gave it a really bad review.
Yep.
But the companies ended up pulling it from the theaters in fear of, like you said, gang retaliation and destruction of theaters. People were so scared back then.
They were scared of everything.
I mean, it's still today, it's the same thing. People were scared of everything. But yeah, they had to pull they had to pull like posters down and stuff.
Because it said 100,000 strong, 5 times more than the police force.
And that wasn't the gangs that were mad. That was just regular people that were, I guess, I don't know, but I mean, what kind of cave are you living in where you think that the police outnumber the gangs?
Yeah, I know.
Is that such a crazy revelation for you? That
No. Well, how many millions of people are in New York?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
So
how
it's
many cops you?
You think there's more cops than there are
But that
civilian?
scared people. It scared people, so they had to pull the posters down. So really, this movie
A
never
lot scared people back then. I've come to realize that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when your government's
Especially in
telling you
film.
every day you have a chance of getting nuked by the coal-fired Russians,
That'll
you
scare
start
ya.
to live.
In
You start to
fear.
live your life a
Yeah,
little differently.
that's true.
Everything scares you when you think you're going to get nuked every single day of your life.
Now they don't even have to use nukes to scare everyone to submission.
No, it can be
It's
anything.
a lot less these days.
But this movie never even got a chance. Really, I think it got pulled just after a few weeks, which is wild for a studio to do that. A studio would never do that now, I would think. Not if it meant they would lose money.
No.
But and like you said, it's got a ton of trivia, behind the scenes stuff. They did film in New York in the 70s, which if you know anything about New York in the 70s and 80s, it is the darkest time in fucking. It was super dangerous. So they did film in New York, and they
had a lot of run-ins with gangs while filming this.
Well, because gangs were bad, and this is a wild time too, where gangs wanted to be in movies. They didn't want to stay. They wanted everyone to know who
Think
they
about
were.
Scorsese. He had a lot of former mobsters in his films.
But
Not prominently, but in the film.
yeah, but the gangs wanted to be in the film, and they weren't. They're like, no, we got to hire actors.
Yeah.
Well,
And some of them got mad about it because some gangs were.
Well, that was the whole thing. They got
put in the
mad,
film,
and
some were
then
not.
they would destroy filming equipment whenever someone wasn't there. So
They had to hire the Mongols.
yeah, they had to hire
protect
another
them.
gang, which is just
Paid them
it doesn't
$500
make
a
any
night.
sense. Yeah. Most of the time, that does not work out.
No, I would
hiring
s-
other gangs to defend off gangs.
Because other gangs want to come and fight those gangs.
Or the gang members. I don't know if you've heard. Can't really trust a gang member.
You can't. They probably just jack all that stuff and leave,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. What's the?
Sell
It's
it on
like
the
when they
black
had.
market.
It's like when they had the new Woodstock 99, and they hired the Hell's Angels. The
Smart
Hell's
move.
Angels just ended up killing a bunch of people and beating people to death, and they were stealing alcohol and shit. It's that kind of thing. You can't really trust a gang member. But yeah, that's the story, at least, is that they held or they protected the set. All right, enough of behind the scenes. Mason, have you seen this film before?
This is my second viewing. Now, the first time I saw this was just like 3 or 4 years ago after believe it or not, the Warriors, the basketball team, not the film. But there was this famous video where it was like, Warriors, come out and play. But it photoshopped, Steph Curry and all them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's from that movie, The Warriors.
Except
I found
that
out,
doesn't
and then-
even make any sense because they are the Warriors. So why would he be in that position as Luther calling out the Warriors
No,
to play?
no. It was I don't know. I don't remember the video. It was like whoever they were playing. So it was like LeBron James being the guy hitting the Warriors.
'cause I always
and then
thought-
it would go back to them and show all the Warriors under
That's
the bridge.
because I always thought, why don't stadiums do that every time the Warriors come?
Yeah.
How awesome would that be? People with Megatron, not Photoshop, just have that guy
Yeah.
out there. It'd be fucking, and it would scare the shit out of the team too. It feels like.
Probably, yeah.
But
That guy was pretty wild.
So you have, and that scene completely improvised. Probably one of the most famous.
It was
improvised.
based off his neighbor.
Who really did
Yeah,
that?
he said he had a crazy neighbor that scared the
He lived
shit
in New
out of
York.
him. Mm-hmm.
Again, just a horrible place to live during the 70s and 80s. But imagine how scary that'd be. You come home to work and that guy's sitting on his front porch. And he's just
Cleaning
out
bottles.
to play. Oh,
His name is,
freaky. Completely methed out.
The actor is David Patrick Kelly.
Oh, he's in and he's in a ton of stuff. Yeah, a lot of these guys are pretty famous actors.
Famously, The Crow.
Yeah, he plays the bad guy in The
Yeah,
Crow. He does. He plays T-Bird. Another gang.
Another gang. He got typecast.
He is typecasted always as a bad guy.
Oh, yeah, he was in John Wick 2.
He was in John Wick, where he didn't play a bad guy. He plays the cleaner, the guy who comes in, cleans up after he murders everyone. But he's also in a show called The Blacklist. He's got like a recurring role on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it does a lot of television.
But yeah, love this film. Love the intro. This film is just so fucking cool. It's so badass. If gangs were like this, everyone would be in a gang because they're so awesome. Just how every gang is so vastly different. Like they
Super different,
got together and be like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna wear top hats. No one else can wear top hats.
Yep.
It's so. I mean, it's unrealistic in that, but it's just so cool that you just go along with the story and
Well, and all the
whole
different types of gangs.
Exactly,
like
that's what I'm
the
saying.
orphans, and then you had
what
the,
about us orphans?
You had the orphans.
We aren't powerful enough. They didn't even get invited. The orphans are the worst gang, but you got the electric eliminators, the high hats, which are the guys that wear top hats, and mimes. Of course, the
baseball furies, which get
the
the
coolest
shit
gang
kicked out of them.
for sure. When my dad showed this film to me when I was like 12, and all I wanted to do for Halloween was be a baseball fury. It would have been so fucking.
That
cool.
was based off Kiss too.
Was it?
The makeup, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep. According to the trivia. Again. Could be
That honestly
folklore.
could be sound like someone's just assuming that all because they had face makeup. Like Kiss invented that.
Right.
But
they actually had the gang names for all the gangs.
oh yeah.
And it's just this giant list compiled list.
The Turnbull ACs, Electric Eliminators, the Boppers, which were the cool black guys in like the purple vest and everything.
Yep.
They're just jiving. It was so super cool. One of the Hans, which is the Chinese group, which is kind of racist on the
Well,
nose. Even for them to call their own
Going
gang.
back now, there were some other bad things, that probably wouldn't be socially acceptable.
But that's the thing I'm talking about. There's so much cool, and there's so much like world building. The Gramercy Rifts, the Van Cortlandt Rangers, which was the Griffs were Osiris's gang, and if you don't know the story of this
Cyrus
movie,
character
is Cyrus is the part of the biggest gang in New York, and he invites all the gangs of New York though. He invites 6 members of each gang to a truce. It's never happened before, and they all go on common ground, and they all go into New York, Brooklyn, and Cyrus is talking. He's the leader. He's the one and only.
Can you dig it?
It's so cool, man. And whatever you say about this film is you cannot get it's impossible not to get pumped up when he's talking.
Yeah.
When he's slowly climbing up the stairs. Can you count suckers?
Suckers.
20,000 soldiers. It's so fucking cool.
It is.
And then he gets blown away.
Yeah.
By a guy who just likes doing stuff like that.
Like shooting people. Yeah, no motive behind
Because
this
I like
character at all.
doing stuff like that's all he says. Luther, and Luther is part of a gang called the Rogues.
The Rogues.
And they're not interested in teaming up with anyone.
No?
They don't want a truce. They don't want any of that. They want to keep the fighting going. Yeah, of course. Because that's kind of what they thrive on.
Simple premise, too. They shoot Cyrus, and then they're like, it's the Warriors. They did it.
The Warriors. And then Cleon, who's the leader of the Warriors at the time, gets fucking jumped hard.
Yeah, he does. Unfortunately.
Gets beaten down to death.
To death, yeah. Mind you.
And that's it. He should not have ran up on fucking, because he runs up immediately to go check on
Hell of a
Cyrus.
fighter, though. He took out 4 or 5 of them
He does.
before he
But
met his demise.
the Gramercy Griffs, they're all fucking like kung fu guys. You see them in so they just kick his ass. And there's about 40 of them compared to Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's so cool. But even the way he dies is fucking cool. It's dramatic. There's a ton of slow-mo in this film.
A lot of slow-mo.
I mean, this film was ahead of its time when it came to slow-mo. But it's cool, it's used gingerly, but it's used at right times.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Then it becomes like this Odyssey kind of tale where this gang has to traverse New York to get back to Coney Island. Safest place you can go is old Coney. But yeah, and they meet a lot of gangs on the way.
They do.
And it's cool. The soundtrack is cool. The score is very unique. You would know it as soon as you heard it. You would know it's from the Warriors. But yeah, they meet a ton of cool big gangs. The Baseball Furies is probably the coolest gang.
Yeah.
And they all kind of have background stories that you don't get in the movie. But if you read about it, the Baseball Furies were supposed to be all guys that were kicked out of the MLB or minor leagues for drugs and stuff. So they
so they formed a gang. The
Why
natural thing
procession
to do. Yes.
of a gang. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because in this world, it's like Batman-esque world to where
it's like you only have 2 choices: be successful or be a gang member.
Exactly. So all these guys, they become, and they're like the Baseball Furies. They're like so feared. I don't even think they were invited to like the fucking the meeting.
truce?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they were invited because they're just guys that just like beating the shit out of you with
Bats. Yeah, you can do a lot of damage with bats. We saw that in the raid. So
Yeah, it's a horrible way to go.
it is not a fun way.
But yeah, this movie had a game come out on
Xbox in 2005. Yeah.
Xbox and PS2. It was so fucking cool. Rockstar did it. The company that does Grand Theft Auto.
Yep.
It was so well done. It was a prequel to this story. It was like canon stuff. You play as the guy who tags shit that's always getting his ass kicked in the movies. He's like the rookie. Mm-hmm. But you play as that guy. It's such a cool game. Basically, you're just going around robbing stores and like robbing people, beating up people, and like stealing stereos out of cars and shit.
That sounds like fun.
It's such a cool game.
I never played it.
It's such a cool game. It's worth it to even go back and play.
That actor is the only one who passed away. He passed away in 86. His name was Marcelino Sanchez.
Who? Which one? The guy who plays. Yeah, he. I don't recognize him for very much stuff.
No, because he passed away in 86 from AIDS. But
oh, wow.
Outside of that, everyone else is still alive.
Yeah,
sometimes when I go back to these old movies, I like to see who's still alive, who's still working.
Yeah, well, again, a lot of the probably most famous guy out of all of them is Ajax, James Remmer.
Yep.
He's been in a ton of stuff, but most famously, have you ever seen the show Dexter? He plays Dexter's dad, who's constantly. But yeah, he plays Ajax, the hot-headed guy who's just looking to fuck the whole time. It's like, there's bigger things going on right now, Ajax. He even tries to fuck the undercover cop in the park.
Oh, he pays for it.
Yeah, he does.
Pays for it.
Oh yeah, because the cops are just one big gang at this time.
Yeah, they are definitely in this
I mean,
film.
you can say
that's
that
the
still
vibe.
today, but the cops are just what? Because once they catch you, they're not taking you in.
No, they're beating the living piss out of you first, and if you do
you
happen to survive,
then they take you in
they'll
and to
put you
beat the shit out of you a little
Again,
bit more until you do die.
It's a process.
They had it tough.
Yeah, that's true.
Can you imagine how
I guess,
sore your arm got after beating a
yeah.
man with a billy club for an hour?
God.
It's a
I guess
rough life.
since we're on the topic of Ajax, James Remmer was the
Yes.
actor, but I guess he got so into it in the audition. The reason why he got cast is I guess he picked, because it was during that scene, he picked up the table and slammed it.
When he was supposed to pick up the
Scared the hell out of the director.
when he picks up the bench in
Yes.
when he tries to get out of the
But in the audition room, he picked up the director's table.
And it honestly, it looks. I mean, he's giving it 100% in the scene too, because the fucking the lady cop looks fucking scared for real.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And when he's swinging that baseball bat at her too, she looks fucking scared, dude.
Well, that one subway scene where the leader throws the bat, I guess he accidentally hit that actress in the face, and she had to go and get stitches.
Not only that, but she broke her arm during this too.
She did. That's why she randomly shows up one time with a jacket.
And that scene's so funny too.
So random.
Where they meet her and they pretty much just take her. But all right, she's ours down when because they take her from the orphans.
From the orphans,
the worst fucking gang. These guys are just
weaklings.
They're so weak. I don't know how they're around. I don't know how they have any territory at all.
They don't really. Apparently,
they're all-
everyone can just walk all over their territory.
Everyone else has these awesome matching outfits. The Warriors have these awesome like leather vests, like Native American, and the orphans have like these shitty green t-shirts.
They just say orphans in the back, and it's like it's like off center
like
even.
like they couldn't even they didn't get a company to make them. They had to make them, handcraft them, and they're all the lettering. It's so, and the guy they have to play the leader too has got like, I don't know, he looks like he's like strung out and met out, but yeah, basically they just steal that woman from the orphans as a little kick them while they're down. Like one way there, I'm taking your gal now.
One of my favorite scenes was the bathroom scene. I thought the choreography was fun
man.
when they're throwing everyone through the bathroom doors.
It is
and
probably
stuff. Yeah.
it is probably the best fight scene. That's when they fight the punks.
Yeah.
The punks and their thing is, because everyone's got like a moniker, everyone's got like a calling card. Their thing is overalls and rollerblades, which would be so difficult to fight on.
Whoop, up,
It's like fighting on ice.
Around.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. Not the
To be fair,
wisest move.
that guy gets his ass kicked.
He does very quick. He gets thrown through the.
Not only that, but
bathroom
those
stall.
rollerblades in the 70s, they're not rollerblades, they're the roller skates. It's the one with the four. Their things are fucking heavy. They're like 9 pounds each. But yeah, I love that scene too, where they meet him in the bathroom, and a lot of slow mo, but awesome.
Took like I think that took 5 to 6 days.
4 or 5
to shoot.
days, they said. Yeah. full days too for that choreography.
They shot all of this in 60 days, and it was between midnight and 8 a.m.
Yeah, because everything had to be at
Everything
nighttime.
was,
yeah. And something cool I like knowing stuff about this. A little technical trivia, but the guy, I don't know if it was the guy doing like the effects. It's probably the director of photography or something, but he wanted to make sure that at the start there's a big rainstorm.
Yep.
So everything looked wet because I guess it's easier to shoot lighting in the dark when everything is wet. Because I guess the light doesn't bounce off as much or something. But yeah, that was a really cool. And then that kind of plays out through the entire thing as you hear like the lightning and shit throughout. So it was a cool little aspect of the story, but also something that he had to have it done because of the technical feature of it.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was cool. But yeah, the whole thing looks awesome. I mean, you didn't have to do much. It's New York in the 70s, so it looks,
Cool.
yeah, it looks cool and scary and everything. Especially when you get the Turnbull ACs driving around in that bus.
Yeah.
they're
chasing them
they're
up the subway.
skinheads, but they got a bunch of black guys in the group also.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic.
They're accepting.
It's a weird dynamic.
It's weird.
Yeah. But that gang has not. I mean, because they weren't gangs. None of these people were actually gang members. But those guys have a funny story. Again, there's so much trivia to this because it's such a beloved from fans.
Right. Yeah.
But those guys, the Turnbull ACs, they're the one in the denim and the bald hat. I mean, the bald shaved heads and everything. They went out to eat after shooting and they didn't change.
Oh no.
And they went into like a burger joint and everyone they said just fucking ran out.
Oh
Just
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. You see a
just
gang
ran
come
out
in,
screaming or crying. Yeah, exactly. Especially New York. And especially like 30 guys.
Well, that
And
cemetery.
these guys,
Yeah.
And you're probably thinking Turnbull ACs. Who the fuck
the
are
hell
these?
are they? Yeah, I've never heard of this.
I've been in
gang.
this gang. I've been in this neighborhood for 30 years. You tell me we got one more gang to
New
worry
gang,
about?
Yeah. That cemetery scene, they had to build a fence around the cemetery to ensure that the actors weren't going to get beaten up or killed
Yeah, and
from their gangs.
that whole section really follows the book pretty closely, but the rest of it, like in the book, they're not even called the Warriors.
Really?
No, they're not. I can't remember what they're called. Not the Denominators, but I can't remember. They're called something like that. But yeah, and all the names are changed too. Which is something we got to talk about. The names are so fucking cool in this.
Yeah, they are.
Leader is Swan. Then there's Ajax. Cleon is like the second in command after Swan. David Harris plays Cochise. Cochise is the guy that dies. Brian Tyler plays Snow. There's Cowboy. Guess what his thing is?
Being a cowboy.
Cowboy hat.
And what that role was offered to Robert De Niro, and he passed it up.
The smallest role, too. Of course he passed that
But
up.
it was in the late 70s.
This is after Taxi
It was right after, because Taxi Driver was 77.
77,
I
I'm
wanna
pretty
say.
sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, for even to offer him that role, I
Right.
mean, it's kind of
How about
slap
Swan?
in the face.
But I mean, Swan was
how about
played by-
Ajax?
Great. Yeah, Ajax would have been good.
Well, I mean,
too.
this guy plays it perfect. And at this point, I don't think anyone else could have played it. But that seems like the role for Robert De Niro.
Right. If you were to offer him one.
Yeah, not Cowboy. The guy's got 2 lines.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Cowboy, there's Rembrandt, Vermin, Fox, Mercy. They all got fucking cool names.
I love the Lizzies, too. That was a
Lizzies
great
are cool.
scene.
Lizzies, a.k.a.
Yeah.
the Sirens. But, because the book is actually based off an ancient Greek story.
Really?
Yeah, based off Xenophon's Anubis. Xenophon was...
I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah, of course you are. But it's basically a Greek story about this guy who gets trapped in a foreign land with 10,000 soldiers. Not the 6 guys they have, but
Okay.
10,000. So they have to kind of like sneak their way out of a foreign land with
Like
10.
behind enemy lines kind of
Yeah,
thing.
they're in. Yeah, so it's the same kind of story premise, but it's 2,000 years old, but it's the same kind of thing. But I think a little more difficult with 10,000. Try to get on a subway with 10,000 guys.
Damn near impossible.
Try to get your cab.
Yeah, no thanks.
It's not gonna happen.
No.
But yeah, it's based on that. But that's what the Lizzies remind me of, is like the Sirens in like the Odyssey. They lure them in just to try to murder them.
When I knew that too, when they saw a bunch of girls, I'm like, come on, guys.
I'm
Like,
pretty
even
sure
if
they're all
walking,
lesbians.
It's like, yeah, and you look at them,
They're
you're
called
like,
the
come on.
Lizzies. I'm pretty
When
sure.
you could tell too, when they started doing the dancing, there was some,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, they
So
were showing you.
and they never really showed any kind of interest in the dudes.
And the guys at all.
Besides
no.
the point that
They're
they
like,
just
yeah,
wanted
just
to trap
pick
them.
us or just pick one. That should be a red flag immediately. immediately when none of the women are interested in you and they just come up to you and are like, yeah, pick one of us.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, like I'm
Put two and two together.
And all these guys, they're on this death march to get out of here, and they can't stop anywhere. No. And they know for a fact, we didn't talk about this, but there's this awesome, cool use of narration. Not a voiceover, but used by the radio DJ, which is so fucking cool.
I actually really enjoyed that because it wasn't direct.
Yeah.
But it was like, hey, man, we're having the Warriors
big
out
boppers.
there. Yeah, big boppers. Yeah, that's what it was. But they're trying to get safe, trying to be safe on their way home. So let's make sure they don't,
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of using those, not direct, but
nondescript
indirect.
mob talk or something.
Right.
Exactly. But it's so cool, dude, because that chick is so cool. I mean, you never see her, but and it's like a thing where it's like, it's the Gramercy Griffs or whatever, Cyrus's gang, like controls the radio station or whatever. So that he's like that guy that takes in, But man, are they pissed when Cyrus dies?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, understandably. I mean, the murder was for nothing. He was uniting the gangs. He was trying to be a leader, and this guy just killed him for no reason.
Yeah.
No good reason at all. Originally in the DVD director's cut, Orson Welles does a voiceover.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which makes no fucking sense.
None at all. But I mean, hey, it's Orson Welles.
That's very weird. Mm-hmm. That is very weird.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Which is weird because that must be a deleted scene. Because I watched the director's cut. I just watched it, and it's still the radio lady. So I'm guessing they just
my information's based on this trivia, so
but that could be something that they recorded and they just said this just sounds too.
This just doesn't fit well.
Yeah, it's not like 1970s disco kind of. It's fucking But yeah, that is very interesting. But I love that use of narration, and she does it throughout the entire. Mm-hmm. And it's cool because I usually don't like a voiceover very often.
Like, but that sort of style
the year
worked
was
perfectly.
1970. Yeah, exactly. But this worked perfectly. It did. Also, something weird about this film is the director. For one, super cool, Walter here. He wanted the entire gang, Warriors, to be black.
To be black, yep. And then the producers,
imagine
of
that.
And that's the thing. It's like, can we just look back at history and now and just get producers the fuck out of film?
Yeah.
Look, you can fund the money, but I don't want to hear your ideas. Because your ideas always suck.
Well, producers help make the film. That's the thing about producers. That's what
I'm saying. Like, help make the film, but keep your shitty ideas out of my films. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so annoying. A producer's input is 99 out of 100 times probably never good.
No, it too ahead of its time, which is wild because he said no, you can't. They said no, but that probably even came from higher up. That probably came from studio execs that said,
"Oh yeah, for sure.
No one's gonna go see a movie with that only stars black people."
Right. with black stars.
That didn't happen till 30 years later.
Yep.
Till Jordan Peele came out. I don't know if there's been a, but that was some. And then he also wanted it set in the future. He didn't want to do anything.
That is true. And initially they said set in the near future, but it sounded too much like Star Wars because Star Wars had came out in 1977.
Yeah, which Star Wars never says that. Star Wars never says
sometime in the future is the direct quote from Paramount.
Yeah, which he didn't want to do anything to make it look futuristic though.
No. And it's not a sci-fi film. No. It has nothing to do with sci-fi.
He literally just wanted that. Yeah, he didn't want to change any of the sets or anything, but he wanted it to be set just slightly in the near future.
For whatever purpose. Yeah.
But maybe that movie gave it a little more of like, this is unrealistic, but we don't know what it'd be like where in the future when games. But it's so clearly set in 1979.
Yeah, for sure.
That you couldn't. I mean, but love this film. It's incredible. The score is amazing. There was always a sequel that was supposed to come out that
never happened.
The sequel was supposed to take place in L.A., and it was supposed to be like the West Coast Warriors, and it wasn't going to be. It was just a different branch. It wasn't going to be the same a sequel or anything.
It's like Sons of Anarchy with the Mayans now, right? Like or like the Sons of Anarchy had different,
or just any gang
branches.
That has different branches.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
Like most gangs
have
more than one branch. Like the Hells Angels have branches all over the world at this point. Yeah. But yeah, it was just going to be, I mean, it wasn't going to be the same story, like another Cyrus gets shot or something, but it was going to be set, which I thought would have been awesome. I think this movie deserves, if any movie deserves a remake or a reboot or something, it'd be awesome to do a new Warriors right now.
Would you want that though? In the risk that they might just completely butcher it?
Well, I wouldn't want a remake. I want either a reboot or that sequel in L.A. in just have it in 1980, a year later or something. But have it, you could actually do. And it wouldn't have the same, allure as probably the 1971 does. But I mean, it's a film that didn't do well. It didn't do super well, and not enough people have seen this film. So I would.
Well, we make the argument quite often that you can take a lot of shit out of a film, but I almost would have liked to see another 20 minutes of this.
Yeah.
In the final battle scene, because you get the final scene between.
Well, let's talk about that first. Yeah.
The warrior, and then Swan.
Which,
throws
if you
the knife.
ever even held a switchblade, they're so unbalanced. All the weight is in the handle. It'd be so fucking hard to throw.
Impossible to stick it in someone's arm like that.
And from that close, he's 2 feet away, he would have to fucking wing that thing.
Yeah. In the editing, a little choppy there, because no knife in his arm.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, you couldn't. I mean, the technology wasn't there to show the knife.
When they were working around the clock, because they were trying to beat another gangster, the Wanderers, coming out in 1979 as well, and they beat that by 4 or 5 months.
Which studios always do that, because there's always a movie that's exactly like it, because there's just fucking spies in every studio. There's people going, okay, that's Fox is making this, let's make something else. But they didn't need to do that because this movie is so much better than The Wanderers. It could have stood on its own, but they did that and it did end up hurting it. Another thing is at the end is you get Cyrus's gang. And it's 300 guys. And no one even realizes they walked up on you just pan over and that's 300
and they're
guys.
all standing there. No one noticed.
No one said a guy. No one shook Luther and be like, Luther, we might want to get there's a crack. There's a crack. There's nothing like that. They just show up and then they're 5 feet away. Yeah. And they're just there. Although they are, pseudo kung fu. So maybe quiet ninja style.
It's true. They just snuck
But why
up
sneak up? You have 400 guys.
That's true.
But but I think I like the end where doesn't really show it, but it's just they all died. They all got
got murdered. Yeah, for sure. That beach was bloody like Normandy. All right?
No, I can only imagine. Or they just took him back to the fucking
and tortured him there.
And torture him.
Yeah,
but you could have maybe shown that.
You could have.
Would have been cool.
It would have been
because Luther is a piece of shit. He's a great villain.
Yeah, he is.
There's one other part where he steals a candy bar from some lady, and she goes, "Hey, aren't you gonna pay for that?" And he takes a bite and he goes, "For what?" And he throws it right at her face. It's so brutal.
No fucks given to this kid. Just a bad kid.
Yeah, no, none at all. But gang members, right?
Yep, that's what they do. That is what they do.
And no cops are known. There's no justice at all.
No, there isn't. Well, there's a form of justice.
You really just go from round to round, just committing chaos. There's no repercussions for it. No. All right, that's all I got. I love The Warriors.
Yep.
I could talk about it forever, but if you haven't seen it yet, check it out.
Check it out. Sure. Yeah, for sure.
One of my favorite 70s films.
Alrighty, well, that is our review for The Warriors. If you guys like what you're seeing here, please be sure to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as we drop videos here every single day. Thank you so much for watching and listening. My name is Mason Knight. That is Cash Krause, and until next time.
Bye.